Hej og velkommen til Allego Elbiler. I dag der laver vi en episode, hvor vi er taget ned og besøge Allego nede i Holland i Arnhem. Og jeg er blevet inviteret ind i deres laboratorie her, som I kan se. Og resten af det her det kommer til at foregå på engelsk, fordi det er jo sådan, at nu er vi i udlandet, og de mennesker, jeg kommer til at interviewe hernede, de snakker naturligvis engelsk eller hollandsk selvfølgelig her.
Seems we have arrived, right, Stephen?
Yeah, I just need to go in and get access.
So it's a whole campus here, or how does this work?
Yeah, so it's like a science park, university, startup environment. Yeah, so we have our office here, and then we also have a laboratory. This is our office, this building.
So we have arrived at 16%, so at some point during today I think we should consider charging it.
Maybe we should take a HIC 50.
Take a 50 because we're going to be here for a couple of hours, so...
You shouldn't record now when I do this bad parking.
Well, that's why I'm recording.
Yeah.
And you did it on the correct side now, because that's where the charge port is.
Yeah.
You're
The opposite of Tesla.
Hello Marco, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Marco. I'm working as a charging technology engineer in the charging technology department, which means that we are responsible for the products that Allego is using.
And we're actually stood inside your lab at the moment.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
This is the location where we test and validate the products. So it means that we can do software testing, we can do new product testing, we can do concept testing. What we used to do is usually test a software before we deploy it in the network.
Okay.
So we do not want to get untested versions to make sure that the customers get the best experience.
Okay, because that was actually going to be one of my questions is why do you even have a lab?
Yeah, we have the lab basically for those kind of things. So we noticed that we have an outdoor test area. We test a lot at least here in the test area, but we know that winters in the Netherlands are not always nice for testing outside. And we want to have a controlled environment, which means controlled temperature, controlled cars. So we usually test with the same car, we test with the same conditions. We usually test the same kind of basic principles so that we know that all the use cases that we have in the field are covered.
That makes a lot of sense because usually you see a lot of variances, I would say, if the temperature goes up and down, and obviously it's not that nice to work outside all of the day and doing all of these testings. So it makes a lot of sense to have this enclosed area, and as you mentioned, you can temperature control it and so on.
Yep.
So that's very interesting. In a moment, we're going to take a walk around and look at some of the stuff that you have testing here at the moment. We have some cars and we have a lot of different charging equipment. So I'm very excited to have a look at that. And you mentioned this is specifically a Dutch experiment, or how do you want to phrase it?
Yeah, it's a Dutch experiment.
Yes, okay. So it's a relevant use case in the Netherlands.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically what we have on the moment, so the grid operators are not providing new connection points anymore. Well, we noticed that the existing chargers are not sufficient enough to provide charging energy.
Yeah.
We also noticed that people are usually 8 hours connected and only 4 hours charging.
Oh.
Which means that there is another 50% of the time the charger is not used.
Right.
That
Okay.
means that with that use case in mind, so if a car is full, it goes out of the load management system and you can serve somebody else. And that's, in the end, it's our goal to serve our clients with a full battery.
That makes perfect sense, yes.
So we have quite a big lab, but for some tests it's still quite small.
Oh yeah.
Because I can get 4 cars in, maybe a fifth if I really clean it up, and then it stops. So now we can see that the load balancing, the internal load balancing is working, and it just needs to distribute the power. And also the other cars need to be slowing down on charging speed. You can hear another one disconnecting on a moment, which can allow this one to charge. And let's see that it builds up the power.
I can hear a lot of clicking. Oh, and you can actually see it visually ramping up here.
Yeah, this is the new AC charging type that we have selected for the Netherlands. Let's see, so now the system is thinking. So we have a 25 amp maximum, which means that we have 6 amp per socket, which means the cars have to respond, they're really on the lower case of the ISO, or the IEC 61581-1. So below 6 amp there is nothing. So
Okay, so there's a cutoff below that.
Yeah, the protocol
Okay.
doesn't support any value below 6 amp.
Okay, understood.
So 6 times 424, so there is not much margin. Usually they calculate 6 plus 10%. So this is quite a challenge. So you can hear that I think the regulation is thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or the regulation of the load balancing.
Yes.
And that it is starting to connect all the cars. And then we need to check if all of them are activated or if they go onto a carousel that 3 cars are charging and the one is holding the power back. So this one seems to be holding the power back. So those are actual use cases that we test. So this is the first day that we have set it up. And we're just trying to see if if the concept of the proof of concept has a chance of surviving.
So, Marco, we have stepped outside now.
Yep.
We're in the, what's it called, the Clean Tech Park, or what was it?
Yeah, it's Arnhem Clean Tech Park, which is the owner, and it facilitates multiple innovative companies like Mylands, like Elad, like us. It has also a University of Applied Sciences, the Arnhem, where we are working together. So we have interns that study there, and they come to us. And there's a lot of cooperation between the members in the park.
Interesting, yeah.
It's really interesting indeed.
It seems like a very innovative area, at least.
It is an old industry park which they renovated completely. Yeah, as you can see, it really looks nice. It is really a great place to work. For me, it is okay because we have a lot of chargers outside. We can do a lot of additional tests. So we have some lab tests. And if items have passed the lab test, we move them outside and we're going to test them here.
So that's sort of the next step in the process of
releasing software. So in general, we test 1 or 2 weeks in the lab, we test 1 or 2 weeks outside, and then we're going to go to 20 charges in the wild. And then we're going to monitor it for a month. If the month is okay, we survived it, then we're going to go to a full rollout. We have stepped outside to check the Kreisel charger. So this is a battery integrated charger. What it does exactly on the screen, but it has a 200 kilowatt hour battery inside. It's connected to an 80 amp grid connection and we can charge up to 240 kilowatts. I will connect the 4 to it. It doesn't go to 240 kilowatts now. I don't know what the state of charge with the 4 is, but let's see. So we can select the connector, swipe the card.
And this is one of the cases where you can see how important it is to have cable management and to have an arm that stretches out.
Yeah, so that the cable doesn't go over the car and that you always have a full reach. The only thing you need to sometimes pull it away from the charger that you have a little bit of a better reach.
Yes.
So let's see, it always takes a while before it commences. There's some vehicle charger communication, so they need to get alignment on the amount of power, the amount of voltage or the height of the voltage. And then basically the charger sets a set point, and then the car will follow. The car will set a set point and the charger will follow. On this moment we have 60% state of charge.
Yes.
It will go to blue, which means it's charging.
This value here is how much the car requests?
Yes. No, that's the actual charging power that we are supplying on the moment.
Okay, so that's the actual supplied.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the car is requesting more. I think the car is above 60%.
Yeah.
It's a cold battery. It has been outside overnight. So I think it is a representative value on the moment. So it will still, I think if when the battery warms up, it will go to 50, 60, 70, 80 kilowatts. And then I think it will stop. The Ford doesn't want to go higher on this moment.
But this is a very nice interface. It looks very appealing and it's easy to understand what to do here, right?
Yeah, it's easy and it also explains what it does. So we have a lot of input from the grid. We have a lot of input from the internal batteries. And then it just is able to get power from the grid and power from the battery to provide you with a high power charging session.
So this is actually a very interesting use case. And I would assume, especially if you have grid congestion, if you have prolonged permissions or something like that for getting connected to the grid, then it makes a lot of sense to set up this sort of charger instead.
Yeah, correct. So in the Netherlands where we have congestion, we cannot get a connection above 3 times 80 kilowatts, amps, sorry, which means that you cannot deploy a fast charger on 3 times 80 amps. So that's about 50 kilowatts. And now with 50 kilowatt input power, we can provide people with up to 150, 160 kilowatts.
Wow.
And it's also validated. And we also tested this charger we could serve up to 15 clients after each other and still have not reached the end of the system.
Nice.
So there's also the use case. So we have a lot of Allego colleagues who drive electrically. So we sometimes invite them on a test day, and then we just do a continuous test. Then we see, okay, state of charge, amount of kilowatt hour charge, 5 minutes in between, and then we're gonna start a new one. So even with 15 cars charging, by the end of the day, we were not able to fully deplete the internal battery.
Wow.
That was quite amazing. I also was quite surprised by the effect. We have two types here. So we have the cable guard, which is suppressed material, and we have a cable that has steel wires inside. So also on the Alpitronic we have a few, and it's also meant for testing.
Yeah.
So we also did some destructive testing, and we are happy with the results.
Unfortunately, it's very important to also invest into this, right?
Yeah, it's a necessity at the moment because the cables are being stolen, and there are locations that even before we can take them into operation, that all the cables are stolen.
Wow.
It's really annoying because it's costing us a lot of money, inconvenience for the drivers in the end. Because if you come to a spot which you calculated to arrive, and then if there are no charging cables, then you're really disappointed. And if you're unlucky, you get stuck and you cannot go to the next one.
Yeah. So that's the unfortunate truth at the moment.
I think it is reality. So there are people stealing cables for a few euros.
Yeah.
Which gives our client a negative experience. We try to repair everything as quick as possible. Usually we can do it within 1 or 2 days, except Germany, because you are in the ICREX certification. You need to have a certified mechanic, you need to have the cables, and you also need to have cable sleeves, because if they have been stolen once, then it's most likely that it will happen again.
Yeah.
So we are working with Alpitronic on the moment. So the two white chargers on the left. So we have an old HIC 150 and an old HIC 300 that we use for indoor testing for Alpitronic software. One is on 1.6, the other on 201. So that we can check all the use cases. We can check plug and charge. We have the Echo as newly delivered chargers that we are checking for functionality. And we have the CAN power system. So it's an earlier generation, so the version 1 of the system. By now we are using version 4 with the new satellite design.
Let's take an example. Let's say if you receive an Allego, the HIC 400, for example.
Yeah.
Do you apply some sort of special firmware to it? Do you have your own Allego version of the firmware, or is it more or less an industry standard? Or
No, what usually happens when we get it out of the box, it's always applied with the latest software that Alpitronic had tested on the moment of delivery. Sometimes we notice that there are bugs in the software, and when there are bugs in the software, in the newly developed software, we stop deploying. So we try to keep as long as possible on an approved version, so that we can know that we can get all the right messages, that the user flows are clear, that the screens can be updated. Yeah, it's a lot of waiting, but when it's there and it's delivered, and then it's a running game again.
yeah.
So it's a little bit also cat and mouse game. So so we find something, we provide the vendor with feedback, they try to repair it in the next version or the version after that. And usually we try to read the release notes, and then we see, okay, in the release note, do we think it is feasible? If it is feasible, or does it, when it has a major feature improvement, then we're going to install it and then we're going to test it.
Okay.
But then we also need to test it on a HIC 400, HIC 300, the HIC 50. So basically every model that we have in the fleet has that software on it and will be tested accordingly.
Yes. So we can see that the Tesla switched down to 5.85 kilowatts at the moment, so around half.
About 8-9 amps.
Yeah.
It's taking more than I would have had expected.
Okay.
This one, the Xpeng is stayed in reservation, and let's see what the other two are doing. This is also one of the tender requirements in the Netherlands. So you can see that Toyota is charging, and also the Volkswagen is slowing down.
So yeah, the Volkswagen is
I don't
charging.
have the tool set up that I can show the charging speed or check the charging speed. But the indicator sign tells me that it just is on pause mode. So we need to wait until it evens out, or 15 minutes, and then it goes to the other cars.
Okay, so I guess there's some sort of intercommunication between these two charge points.
Yeah, I got the long cable. So
Right.
I have the power cable and I have a long cable. I didn't do a really nice and clean setup, but for testing purposes, it's okay.
Yeah.
What you just have, it's an internal load balancing, it's supported by the vendor, and the vendor has a special software algorithm put onto it. Now we are testing and we are actually demonstrating the use case, and we try to optimize things with the vendor. So if we conclude that the system is not up to par or the software is problematic, we'll usually go into contact with our vendors and says, hey, we want to see if we can up the limit or provide an extra functionality or develop the solution a little bit further.
Okay. But maybe you can just briefly touch on some of the plans that you have. Are you working on, for example, megawatt charging?
Yes, as all CPOs, we are working and looking towards megawatt charging. We know that the systems are in development, but we will, I think, receive our first megawatt charging capable system somewhere in the Q2. We're gonna set it up and make it ready. We will not have the satellite available, but we will be at least testing the power unit as it is a decentralized station. And then we can at least get familiar with the system, know how to install it, instruct our regions that they can do the right side preparations. And then I think later this year, I think we will go towards the megawatt charging satellite. Then we can really test it. So a funny thing is, me and another coworker have gotten the truck driver license a year or two ago, just to be able to drive a truck around and to also empty the battery whenever we can. So we are prepared for it. The actual delivery takes a little bit longer, but it's on our long-term roadmap to get megawatt charging integrated in our system. Also working for truck charging sites. We have a few sites that are suitable for trucks. We are here at the beginning of the Allego, or at the start of Allego. So Allego has started in the AC market in the Netherlands. It has been working on getting AC chargers installed in municipalities, shopping centers, at hotels. And at the time, there were not that many electric cars, also not really a defined product. So we worked together with vendors to get a product organized. We worked with grid operators to get the grid connections organized. So it's, I think the Netherlands, the Dutch AC market is a market by itself. So it has been, you can see, I've got two kind of vendors. I got a third vendor in the old days. This is also one of the vendors that we have really from the earlier days. We have a certain corner. This is the private charger corner, which means it has German private chargers, office charger, and it basically is recognized by having one socket. A little bit further to the left, we have the business domain. So we have been developing a charging station in the past. Nowadays we see that the use cases are getting different and that the solution by itself did not fit our needs. But we put it on display anyway. So you can beautifully see here the 4 generations. So generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. And there was an own Allego development. There we tried to compete, but in the end the price per socket was just higher than we. Yeah, then was the market request.
So it's actually very interesting that, Allego is so old, so to speak, that you actually started out with AC charging and progressed into DC charging, because a lot of newer providers, they have only ever seen DC charging, right?
Yes, and so in the end, Allego started as a daughter company of one of the Dutch grid operators, Allego, and it was just a subsidiary, and because of the subsidiary role, it was originally started as a study company for what the impact was from electrical cars on grids. And then it developed, and then they got chargers, and they went into the developing the OCPP protocol with. Nowadays, I think Allego still has about 10 to 15,000 AC charging points in the Netherlands. And I think 5,000 fast chargers throughout all the 15 countries we are working in Europe. Over here we have a lot of the DC charging legacy. So from the older days we have a lot of AVSX. So we started with AVSX, I think, before I joined Allego. So we go, I always need to check. I think this is a 45 kilowatt charger. This is the thing that's only on display, we never used it. So this is our famous QC45 with a CHAdeMO CCS connector that can work separately. One is working, the other wasn't working. And we even stole the AC cable part for spare parts. So we can see it's also a little bit cannibalized. So if we need a spare part, take it off here. If
So
we
you
can
have
afford it.
you even have cable theft here, right?
Yeah, we even have internal cable theft. So I don't know, our ops team is really keen on getting all the things. It's also 50 kilowatt, also had the same 3 cables. We had a lot of those in France. And in the end, I think I always compare it to the older models of the television. So all the way in the back, we have the first generation of televisions. So over here we have the televisions with the big tube on the back side, with the old screens. And then the new, we go into OLED, we're gonna go into all kind of flat screens. But this is really the old and basic stuff. So it works on transformer technology. So we're gonna throw the power up, we're gonna rectify it, and then we're gonna supply the DC towards the charger. And nowadays you only got silicon carbide on the inside of the charger. So it's really a revolutionary leap forward. And I think, and then you can see, so Alpitronic combined 400 kilowatts in a housing within less than a square meter. Now you can see that is the highly dense populated charger on the moment that there is. So the camp power has a larger footprint with that amount of power.
Okay, yeah.
So that is one of the USPs from Alpitronic, that they have everything combined in one charger. Everything is just present on that 1 meter footprint. So we have another leap. We have the Eversec QC45, which we transferred in the Eversec 320 kilowatt version as part of the Mega A project. So we were poking the vendors to come up with 300 kilowatt charging session as part of European subsidy program. Eversec managed to get twice the QC45, enlarge it, and made a mass, or at least made a distributed system. So what we have now with camp power, so the Eversec was a runner-up. So we had power cabinets standing away from the charging spot, and we had the dispenser where people could select the connector and charge.
So I'm here with Pauline, and you are the head of marketing, right?
Yes, that's right. I'm the new head of marketing of Allego. I've been in the company since January, so pretty new. Experiencing every nice thing of Allego. Started at the charging site with the team. We visited it. It's where we think for marketing the story begins, right? That's where the consumer needs to charge. Yeah, so we launched the app to offer the consumer one app with more than 1 million outlets that they can go through. So not only Allego, but different suppliers, providers. And you can go anywhere, you can see it in the app. And a big advantage is that you don't pay markup fees.
Hi everyone, I'm Marlijn de Bakker. I'm product manager for site design at Allego. So that basically means we are helping the teams of Allego who make the installations design beautiful sites, beautiful and well to use, easy to use sites.
And actually we stood right in front of one of your designs here.
Yes, well, a couple of things, of course. Yeah, so the canopy you see here. We have, of course, validity protection that you're standing in front of. Yeah, there's a lot of engineering that goes into making sure that if you drive in with your car, it's easy to go. And if you drive out with your car, if you open your car doors, for example, those things are important, but also from a technical perspective, making sure, for example, that the doors of the charger are open, so we can swap battery stacks if we need to.
So what kind of planning it goes into, if you get a new site, for example, what kind of planning goes into that? What determines whether you have a canopy, whether you have a larger canopy than this one, or how does that work?
I think the most important one is space. So if we have a lot of space, of course, we can go large. So then we try to install larger roofs for customers. Of course, this roof is smaller, so less weather protection, but it is very important for making sure you can find the site, and it's also lighting. But large canopies, of course, are much better for large locations, for example, along the highway, where customers are fully protected from the rain. And also space, really. So like I said, the location partner that we have, who owns the land often, gives us space. And that's the space we can use, and not more often, or we need to negotiate more space. So we try to, within the space that we get, make the best design possible.
And especially, I mean, around highway sites or highway locations, I really appreciate the lighting during the night time.
Yeah.
Because it
just gives you a sense of security or safety when you have the lighting.
Super important. I think it's really good that you mentioned that, because we're also seeing, I think, of course, in the Nordics, you are much farther than a lot of the rest of Europe. But in the rest of Europe, we see a big change now from having the techie, mostly male, middle-aged, higher income type of customer who accept also a lot of mistakes on sites or not really well-designed sites. And we're changing now to customers who are more female, more children, more elderly people as well. So much more diverse, actually. They expect different things from the site. So they just want it to work and they just want it to be comfortable. And then, of course, what you're mentioning, lighting, especially for females, for example, during the night when such a highway location can be quite deserted.
Yeah.
That's super important that you feel safe. So, and that there's toilets, for example, as well.
Yeah, amenities.
Amenities,
in general.
yeah, super. Yeah. Then imagine that you come to a highway location, you need to charge, your kids have been screaming for, I don't know, fighting in the back of your car for, I don't know, an hour. So you're really happy that you can finally charge. Then you arrive at a site and the charger is not working. That's the shittiest experience ever, right? So you just want it to work. You want it easy to maneuver. Maybe you're tired yourself already. So maybe you're not paying the amount of attention you should to parking. So you're parking a little bit too close to something. Then the kids open the door and it slams against, I don't know, like a collision protection bollard or something. So those are the things that you try to keep in mind when we are designing a site. So it should be foolproof, easy to use for everyone. Maybe a playground for the kids around. Yeah, those things are really different, I think, now when we are designing a site than, for example, a couple of years ago. We had a lot of technical people working at Allego before, and now we have more people who are thinking more from the customer perspective. So we've really made a transition from designing just putting chargers in the ground to not just putting chargers in the ground, but designing a place for people to be, basically. So what you see is that signage is a good example of that now. We used to just put chargers in the ground, and then if you arrive in a big parking lot, they are maybe in the far back. And then you pray you find them. So you need to drive around a couple of times on the parking lot, maybe if you're not paying attention enough, and then hopefully you'll find them. So I think that's also something that we really made a transition in. So we're now installing, for example, these large roofs so that you can find them, so you have something to navigate to, but also inserting signage at, for example, the roundabouts just before the location.
Right.
So you know where to go, or when you enter the parking lot, that there's a clear sign saying, hey, we are at the back, go and find us. And then there's a canopy waving at you, hey, this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
So that's also a big transition, I would say.
So last question for you. What does the future look like? What is the ideal charging location in your world?
Ooh, my personal, I would like to see more green integrated into the location. So if we're looking, for example, at this site, then take out the tiles, put in the garden there to have some biodiversity. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Make it much more sustainable. That's what I would like. And apart from that, I think just a pleasant place to be, or I don't know, a bee hotel or stuff like that.
Okay, nice.
I like that. That's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maran. That was really good.
So I've returned home, and that was a very exciting trip to the Netherlands and to visit Allego's headquarters in Arnhem. Overall, I think that what we saw there was that Allego is not just another charge point operator. They are actually an operator that looks into how you can really benefit the EV driver and how you can make new spaces, for example, with recreational areas and a nice place to be. It's not just about the charger, it's also about the experience around it. So I think that was really good. And it was very interesting to see in the lab that Marco, he did all those tests and that, again, that Allego is not just a provider that installs equipment. They are actually doing an active part in maintaining software, giving feedback to the vendors that create charging equipment, giving feedback to Alpitronic, for example, giving feedback to Chempower and so on. And that was really interesting to see. There's a whole industry behind it, and there's a lot of other things that you don't consider when you are an EV driver, and I think that's really interesting. I hope that you found this video interesting as well. So I'm really glad that Stephen invited me to visit the headquarters. I hope to do it sometime again soon. And next up, is going to be our trip to Le Mans, and we're going to do a big convoy with a lot of different EVs. I myself, I'm going to drive my Ford e-Transit, so maybe you've seen my other channel, the e-camper project, and that's the vehicle I'm going to drive down to Le Mans. It's going to be around, 1,300 kilometers, so it's going to be a big trip for that vehicle, and I hope you'll join me on that trip as well.